George Bruno with the 21 Report in Orlando, Florida. And Tanner Guzy just came off the stage, and we're going to talk to him about his content called Masculine Style. He's a father of 3 and going to be 4 real soon, and we're excited to talk to him. Welcome.
Thanks, George. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. What is the problem that most men encounter when it comes to style?
Oh man, there's a lot of them. But I would say the biggest one is most men, their whole relationship with their appearance is that they're just trying not to lose as opposed to actually trying to win. They're looking at it as long as I don't look like an idiot, or as long as I don't look like something that I'm not, then I don't really care what I look like. When really what they should be doing is trying to express who they are and trying to be able to communicate that to the world around them.
What happens when a man gets enlightened? What happens when a switch gets flipped inside of him? You had made a comment in your speech about how men stepped it up. Some men look different this year than they did last year.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's fun because it's not even something that you can necessarily pinpoint or quantify as far as, they wear these type of shoes or everybody's got a suit on or anything else like that. But you can just tell the difference between a man who is wearing clothes that are just available to him because that's what his wife happened to pick up at Kohl's, or, it's just, that's whatever, versus he actually puts some thought into it.
Yeah.
Because even if it's something that the shoes are just not average or normal, you have to go to a specific kind of store, or the jeans are actually the right length as opposed to being 6 inches too long, or the shirt actually looks like it fits his body instead of being 2 sizes too big or too small. Even just that little bit, it's just indicative of the fact that there's some concern there, that they care about it. And ultimately what's cool is that it shows that they have some self-respect, and they expect some respect from us, the people who are seeing them too. And so I have loved seeing the guys step up their game because it looks like they have more respect for themselves than they have in previous years.
And I noticed you made a comment, and I was really happy to see this. A lot of times at men's events, and when I think of men's events, I'm from the Monty Python generation, and the men song, men,
Yes.
And the lumberjack thing and flannel shirts, whatever. And I think there's what I call like the baseball cap on backwards guy with the mesh shorts, and just that kind of guy who just thinks that's a great attire to go to anything.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing less and less of that as men are becoming more and more aware of how their appearance impacts others.
Right.
And you made a comment in the very beginning about some men wearing suits and some men looking great in jeans and a tee.
Right.
Expand on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, and this is, going back to your first question, is one of the things that is another big problem with guys related to style is they think that good style means that it's formal and bad style is casual, and those are the only 2 options. And a lot of times, there's some pretty bad suits and guys who just look ridiculous in them. Even if the suit is well made and it fits you well, if you're wearing it in the wrong context, it can look ridiculous.
Yes.
And so I think, sadly, a lot of times guys, and I can see historically why that happened, because back when the most recent time in which men had good style, everybody wore suits.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to kind of go to that as the default mode, but it's confusing correlation with causation. And so you really can have wonderful, self-respecting, intentional style that communicates that you're a man who cares about himself, you expect some level of respect from other people around you, and do it in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt if they fit right, if they're made well, if the quality is high, all those kind of things. Yeah.
I remember last year, Ryan Stone looked like he came right off of a fashion catalog. That suit looked fantastic. But Cooper got up there in jeans and a t-shirt and killed it.
Yep. And isn't it funny how it's kind of swapped? Stone still looked great, but Cooper this year, he looked fantastic in that jacket.
He really did.
Right? He was nailing it in that thing.
Yes, he was.
And it's not, he looks great in both.
Yes.
His style is good in both.
Yes.
And so he just is communicating something a little bit differently.
Yes.
There was a little bit more seriousness and authority to what he had on this year, whereas last year it was a little bit more approachable and a little bit more kind of casual and, well, you're just here to have a conversation with me, as opposed to both of those are great.
Yeah.
And so it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish, and you can leverage your appearance to help you with either one of those goals. Yeah.
I remember watching a clip from a video, and it was a husband and wife. He was standing in front of the mirror. I think it was one of the Kendrick brothers films. They did a series of like Christian films for men. And it was a guy standing in front of a mirror wearing a suit, who never wore a suit. And he's like, straightening lapels. And I'll show you that clip. And his wife is behind him. The camera angle is perfect. And he says, I feel important. And I got goosebumps. And this is a guy who's not normally in a suit.
Right.
And it was a transformation. It was that Clark Kent thing.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Well, it's one of those things that is so, and most men don't think about it, sadly, because all they think about when it comes to clothing is, how does that impact my relationship with other people? And do I care what other people think, or should I care what other people think, or all this kind of weird dialogue that we have. But one of the biggest kept secrets about dressing well is what it does for you yourself. Now, obviously, if you were to put that same suit on a man 600 years ago, he's not going to put that on and go, I feel important.
Right.
He's going to think, I feel weird in this, because he doesn't understand everything that has been imbued on that clothing, all the stuff that we get that's reinforced by media and authority and all these other things, because a suit means something to us now. And important men wear suits.
Yes.
That's becoming less and less the case, but that is still the case strong enough that for someone like him to put that on, it becomes important men wear suits. I am wearing a suit. I look good in a suit. Maybe I deserve to be important.
Right.
And to feel important.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting how certain people have created styles. I think of Steve Jobs. I'm kind of like, the mock turtleneck?
Yes.
And the
bad
round
New Balance
rimless
shoes,
glasses.
yeah.
And let's talk about that style. That seems to be fairly timeless. I mean, I'm not sure if he had a person that he consulted with, but it really worked. And I identify that look as Steve Jobs.
Right. Yeah, it was very much a personal branding move. And what's interesting is you get guys like him versus somebody else like Mark Zuckerberg, similar industry, and he very much has a personal uniform and a personal brand, and it's not as good. And obviously somebody like Jobs, he's more polarizing, because some guys look at that and go, yeah, that's timeless, that's good. Other guys look at it and go, those shoes were really bad, or, those are obvious dad jeans or something else. And what's fun is that both of them have understood, and most men, I think, miss this opportunity, is you can create a personal brand with your clothing, and it can be whatever you want it to be, whatever's going to work for you. And so somebody like Jobs doing what he did, I think it was hugely, especially because it got to the point where that was him. Originally, it's like, is he wearing the same thing again? Like, what? But then it just became, you're not focused on the clothes, they're just the frame, and you're actually paying attention to Jobs because you're not being distracted by anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't picture him without it's a mock tee, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I can't picture him without it now.
Right? Exactly. And if you were to see him go out and give a keynote or something else and something totally different, that would be so distracting.
Right.
And so he was able to turn this into a uniform that was so strong that all you really paid attention to was him.
Yeah.
His body language, his nuance, and everything else, because he created that uniform and was so consistent in wearing it that you stopped seeing it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about glasses.
Okay.
That's not something that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
I remember I was interested in what kind of glasses he wore. So I Googled Steve Jobs glasses.
Okay.
And there is a company out of France that custom makes glasses, and they use 14 karat gold. Very expensive. But honestly, they are incredible. And I was just looking at some higher end things. And as I cut guys' hair, I work in the salon industry. I see some guys' glasses, and I'm like, oh, what kind of glasses are those? And some guys, and this is not a product endorsement, it's an excellence recognition.
Good distinction.
Yeah.
Good distinction.
Some guys would say, oh, they're silhouettes. And I said, silhouettes? And they go, oh, yeah, they're the lightest, they're titanium. You notice the man, not the glasses. Let's talk about glasses.
Okay.
A lot of people wear glasses.
Right. So I end up falling more into the opposite camp, where as I'm working with my one-on-one coaching clients, a lot of times I tell them that you're better off embracing some unapologetic glasses as opposed to trying to make it look like they're not there. Because if you want to look like you don't wear glasses, then For most men, you can either wear contacts, or I've had LASIK surgery done or something else. And so most of the time, if you're wearing glasses, you're choosing to do it. And it's kind of like going bald, where most of the time you're better off just embracing it and shaving it all the way, as opposed to doing a comb over or anything else. And so my philosophy is, if it's something that biologically would be considered to be defective, a lot of times you're better off leaning into it and kind of going with this contrast principle of like, this is part of who I am, as opposed to trying to minimize the visual effect of it.
I get that. On the Food Channel, it was either Food or Travel Channel, there was a guy, kind of a quirky fella. His name will come to me, but he would get into the history of foods. And he was funny and quirky, and he had these nerdish kind of glasses on, and if he walked in here without the glasses, I wouldn't recognize him.
Yeah, because it's part of who he is.
It's part of who he is. I think can glasses be a branding point?
Absolutely. Especially when they are something that's more of a statement or something else, than when you get to the point where people see you without them. Same thing with a beard. Yeah. I have to shave mine in a month. I'm taking my first fight with amateur boxing. And one of the rules is that you have to be clean shaven. My kids have never seen me without a beard.
That's why you need to go MMA.
Yeah, exactly, right? Or just go pro right away.
Right.
Because then I don't have, And so my kids aren't going to recognize who I am. My oldest daughter is 6.
She's never seen you without a beard.
Right? And so it is very much, all of those things are part of our branding and part of how people see us and recognize us. Yeah.
You might or might not remember, I had a beard down to my belt buckle. It was pretty long.
Which was pretty killer.
It was.
Yeah, it was great.
It was interesting. It comes with its pluses and minuses.
I would imagine.
And I remember when I took it off, I lost 5,000 followers in one day. It was the weirdest thing. I was like, you would have think Benedict Arnold.
Right.
I mean,
you
honestly.
killed a baby, George.
Yeah, exactly. It was just the strangest thing I ever experienced. And my reaction was strange because I had no idea that people just watched me for the beard and not for the content. And then those that hung around were like, I like your content, beard or no beard. So that was kind of interesting. Let's talk about facial hair as an adornment and as a branding tool.
Well, and I love even that, because I think a lot of times people are so afraid of doing anything that's even a little bit polarizing. And obviously having a long beard is polarizing. Clearly shaving it off was polarizing. And a lot of times people look at that as a negative.
Yeah.
And I see that as such a good thing.
Yeah.
Because those 5,000, if the only thing that they cared about was how long your beard was, they're not going to be loyal to you anyway. They don't care about your content. They'll never be long-term subscribers. They'll never be customers. They'll never be part of your tribe or anything else. And so a lot of times using those kinds of things, being polarizing in your appearance, can actually be really good, because it doesn't leave room for neutrality. People are either on board or they're off.
And I think that's a good branding move.
It absolutely is.
There's no wishy-washy people.
You can't be everything to everybody.
Exactly.
So choose to be what you want to be to whom you want to be, as opposed to just trying to play it safe.
We have a mutual friend, Eric, with Beard Brand. And I remember when he was rocking a very long beard for a while. And then he went back to just kind of like your length and just a little bit more than a face beard. And it was a handsome looking beard. But I remember, I actually learned this from my mother, that when you watch a video, the video could be entertaining and educational, but what's even more entertaining is the comments below it. And my mom is the one that taught me, read the comments below everything. And I remember when Eric trimmed his beard, holy cow, the hate that he got.
A lot of hate, yep.
I mean, it was like betrayal. You betrayed us.
Right, yeah. And isn't it so funny, because people buy into it so much that this is who you are and you owe this to them because this is how you are. And Eric, like a lot of us, he's doing a mullet thing right now. He's getting a lot of hate for that. And I'm kind of bugged that I like it as much as I do. But part of what we do, especially men who are interested in understanding this and navigating all of it, is we're trying new stuff. I yesterday for the event, I was in a t-shirt and jeans, and I had multiple guys who had been here previous years. I've never seen you this casual before. I'm really surprised to see you dressed this way. And again, that polarization can be a really good thing, because you don't want to be one-dimensional. There's something good about branding, like we were talking about with jobs, but there's also the downside of that, which is that you can become one-dimensional. And so either one of those approaches, changing things up a lot or having your personal uniform, they've both got their pros and their cons.
How can a man who wants to change his life, like the clip in the movie where I feel important, the man says to his wife as he's looking at himself in the mirror, there's a guy out there right now, and he shops and just picks up whatever jeans happen to fit. He's not really concerned about anything. And he's now thinking, maybe that could work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to him about how he looks on the outside, how it can change outcomes, and how people treat him.
Right. Well, what's fun is that it's so applicable regardless of where you are. If you're a man who's gone through self-improvement to self-optimization and you've dialed in things like your fitness and your finances and your relationships, a lot of times if you don't improve your style, then the man who's staring back at you in the mirror is still the man that you used to be. And so you get caught up in this inertia of, have I really changed as much as I would like to? Am I really making as much progress as I would like to? So if that's where he is, then there's huge benefits there. And if it's a man who's just getting started, then one of the biggest benefits is this is a super easy thing to do. Because if you think about trying to lose weight or put on some muscle, or you're trying to get out of debt, or you're trying to get better with your relationships, those are things that can take a lot of time to be able to do. But improving your style, you can just get a good idea of what good fit is, and you don't even have to necessarily change the formality or the color of anything that you're wearing. You can wear the same stuff you have. You just get rid of the graphic t-shirts and buy solid t-shirts, and you get jeans that fit, and you get some classic sneakers that are going to look better than just, the whatever beat up pair it is that you have. And then you get a whole different vision of yourself. And you go, okay, well, if I can make this change and I feel this much better, then that can lead to snowballing into other types of changes. And so that's what's so cool, is that wherever you are in this journey of becoming the best version of yourself, at some point, improving your outward appearance is a big component of it. And you can either do it at the beginning, the middle, or the end, and you're going to benefit from it either way.
Let me ask you this. Between last year and this year, something flipped a switch in you. Not only do I notice changes in a lot of attendees to the 21 convention, I see a physical change in you. I saw a physical change in Cooper. He was, tall, trim, athletic looking. Now he's massive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. You went from tall, trim, a slim look. Now you're like beefy. I'm just looking at a side view of you sitting there, and I'm like, you're just like, there's more beef there. What's happening?
It's been a good year for me. I mean, from a confidence perspective, my business is doing great. My family life is great. And what that leads to is better sleep, better rest, those kinds of things. I've been really having a good year as far as hitting the gym. I put on 20 pounds this year, and most of it is the right kind of weight.
The right kind of pounds,
Exactly. But even then, fight training, getting ready to take my first boxing match and getting a familiarity with martial arts and some sort of violence and things. All of these things that are tied into the old versions of what it was to be a man, those are real things. And whether or not I actually have to do any violence to protect my family, it doesn't matter. Because I'm a better version of myself for knowing that I can get punched in the face and I'm not as fragile as I thought I was.
Right.
Or being able to lift more weight and having more discipline and going to the gym and eating correctly and, being able to know that I've weathered storms with my business or the things. You do hard things. You do hard things and you conquer them, and you're physically better, you're spiritually better, you're socially better, you're better in every regard, and it comes across in your countenance. And I love that that's what I've noticed too with so many of the attendees is everybody's countenance just seems to be better because it's not just talking the talk, but everybody's putting in the work on it too. They're doing hard things.
I love that. And you wrote a book called The Appearance of Power. I read the book. I did a review of it.
Which I really appreciated.
I'll tell you what, one of my lady friends, when I was trying to explain to her what this conference was about last year, after I let her read this, she said, I get it now. I get it now.
Awesome.
And it's not just a book for men.
No, it's also not just a book for style.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of one of the biggest secrets about what I do and how I teach, whether that's through the book or coaching or anything else like that, is style. The way that we apply these principles to style is important. But it's really those principles are applicable for navigating anything when it comes to social hierarchies or how to interact with other people or anything else.
Well, I had this on my desk at the salon. I'm the only guy working amongst all women, and women have been saying, Can I read that book when you're done with it?
Awesome.
It's great.
I love it.
So you have a market you might not even be aware of.
Yes, I got to start marketing to women now.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. They could buy that for their husbands, for their
Exactly.
sons, for their boyfriends.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. How can people find you on the web? I know I don't know a lot of Tanner Guzys.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty easy to look that up.
So they could just Google you and
Right.
find you.
Yep.
But your main website or content is at where?
It's masculine-style.com. One of the biggest things that's an advantage for you guys who are interested in learning more is if you go there, the first opportunity you'll have is to click to start to take a quiz it's 7 questions, and it helps you get a better idea of, we were talking about different ways to what good style looks like, because it's not just this one linear thing, but there's a lot of options. And so by going there and taking that, it'll help you start to get an idea of what the direction is. And so go do that. Social media, I'm most active on Twitter. Twitter and Instagram, which are at Tanner Guzy, and that's Guzy with 1 Z.
Okay.
So those are masculinestyle.com, and then Twitter and Instagram are at Tanner Guzy.
I come from the dress for success generation, from that John Malloy's book. And this goes way beyond it. Your whole thing is, it really speaks to the person.
I love it.
I love it too. George Bruno for the 21 Report, talking with Tanner Guzy. Thank you, Tanner.
Thanks, George.